it's earned. It comes from having experience and possessing knowledge that can be passed on to the next generation. Jim's Firearms.
Why do billion-dollar insurance companies regularly delay and deny valid claims? Because that's how they got to be billion-dollar insurance companies. If you've been injured, I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA filing number 16-7969.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21.
Seems to be in really good shape. Miles Brennan is coming back. He's a fifth-year player. You've got Garrett Nussmeier in the program. Walker Howard just enrolled early. Like, this is a pretty good spot. I don't think you ever turn a quarterback away, but I'm not sure if it's a spot that he's going to want to come because Miles Brennan was the starting quarterback here 2 years ago. Well, fast forward, and Jayden Daniels on March 6th did commit to LSU. And I didn't think a ton of it. Now, Matt was dead right, and he will tell you because he had a little bit more knowledge of what was going on over there because he's friends with Ryan Clark, and Ryan Clark's son was there, and he was friends with Jayden, and they had seen him play a little bit. But I'm thinking, like, this guy's numbers at Arizona State are okay. I turn on the highlight tape, and he, does some cool things. It's Arizona State. Miles Brennan's the quarterback as far as I can see. And we went into that spring and that summer going, I think there's a quarterback competition, but it's probably Miles Brennan. And Matt was like, no, they brought him in to be the starter. Brian Kelly thinks that's his starting quarterback. And to sit here today when he's about to be the second pick in the draft with a Heisman Trophy on his mantle is just hard for me to wrap my head around truly. y'all know the story around here. Y'all know the 10 years of unbelievable defensive back play, of elite level defensive lines, of all-American linebackers, Kevin Minter, Devin White. Y'all know the lineage of running backs and wide receivers that have rolled through here, the games that LSU has won, and just how difficult it seemed at times for LSU to complete a forward pass. And then we got Joe, which, by the way, was like a nice ad. Okay, Ohio State's third-string quarterback. Good thing they got him some Mike Anderson's crawfish. I guess that worked out. We'll see what he's got. And then he becomes Joe Burrow. And we all sat there and go, okay, well, we're never going to see anything quite that good, but that was pretty awesome. And then to sit here, Joe was in the 20 draft, so 4 years later, and to have a guy with just about the same accolades from an individual perspective is really amazing. And especially considering the fact that when someone floated the idea of talking about him on the radio the next day, I had never heard of him. Now, you can put that as an indictment on me. That's fine. I don't watch a lot of Arizona State football. But this has been an unbelievably meteoric rise for Jayden Daniels. And I looked back at his bio, and for his career numbers at LSU, 6,725 passing yards, 2,019 rushing yards, which totals 8,744 total yards in his 2 years. On LSU's all-time list, he's second in terms of touchdowns responsible for with 79. He's third in total offense and passing touchdowns. He's fourth in passing yards. He's one of only 18 players in LSU history to run for 2,000 yards. He's obviously got the record all-time of rushing yards by a quarterback as a career and in a single season. We saw flashes in 2022. We saw him against Florida when LSU scored 6 times in a row right down the field. We saw his ability to stay composed and make big plays against Alabama in Tiger Stadium. And we thought maybe at times he holds on to the ball a little bit too long. For some, he definitely holds on to the ball too long. We remember the press conferences in 2022, Brian Kelly saying, I know he's got no interceptions. That may not be the greatest thing. He needs to throw the ball down the field. Take some chances. Give Malik Neighbors a shot. Give Brian Thomas a shot. Give Kayshon Boutte a shot. Put the ball in harm's way, which at the same time gives your guy an opportunity to make it a big play. And it never really materialized his first year as a starter at LSU in terms of being overly aggressive. Not overly, but being more aggressive. And then we thought there's a chance he may test the NFL waters. He's been a starting quarterback in college football 3 years at Arizona State, 1 at LSU. That may be enough. Maybe you go. And this is a 4-star recruit who, as a true freshman, probably thought he was 3 and done anyway. And he decides, instead of going to the NFL after 4 years, to come back for a 5th. And I tell you every single year about that optimism clock, that at August is at a fever pitch. It's as high as it'll get. And those that are feeling really optimistic are saying, look, he's had an off season to understand what he needs to do. He needs to take more chances. He needs to get the ball down the field. He's going to do that now. And you've got the pessimists who will sit there and say, he is who he is. It's not going to change. And then you come out in that Florida State game, and the LSU offense bogged down in the second half. Now, there was a huge drop by Kyron Lacey on a 3rd down, and then Malik fell down on a hitch route for an interception, and that stalled 2 of the drives. So you can say whatever you want about it, but the production in the end wasn't as good as you would have hoped, and you lost the game. And then you went to Starkville, and it was a flamethrower for 4 quarters. Now, Malik was very much involved in all that, but Jayden was too. He was the one pulling the trigger. And my word, did it never stop after that. Game after game after game after game, it was almost perfect quarterback play. Almost perfect. He was decisive. He was accurate. He was explosive. He ad-libbed. And he was incredible the whole way through. And to think that the fact that LSU couldn't stop anybody almost stopped him from winning a Heisman Trophy is tough to even consider at this point. But because he was so good and put up such ridiculous highlight show numbers and plays against Florida and then stormed back in the second half to beat Texas A&M, he rightly held that trophy at the end of it. And tonight, all that work, 5 years of starting, 2 years at a different place, the maturation and growth of one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen in college football culminates with a pick very early in this draft. There doesn't seem to be anybody that suggests that this would be an opportunity for anyone else but Washington to make this pick. You've seen a lot of people, Dan Orlovsky, myself, Charles Handegriff, say, if I were Chicago, this would be my guy. Well, they've made their pick. They're going to go with Caleb Williams. But I think Washington is going to be a very, very happy team to draft this guy. They've got to put an offensive line in front of him, and they've got to surround him with the quality culture. We've seen really talented dudes enter the league and never surface because of the environment around them. And Washington's been toxic for decades. Dan Snyder's gone. New group is in. Maybe this is the change. We've seen it in Cincinnati. Maybe this is it for Washington. But either way, I'll sit back as an alum tonight at Don Juan and think, man, this is really cool. That after we wandered in the desert for a decade, seeing nothing but mirages with recruiting stars by their names, you finally, over a course of 5 years, produced two of the best quarterbacks in SEC history, statistically. And the draft is the culmination of that, and you kind of hand them off. I've adopted the Cincinnati Bengals because of Joe Burrow, and obviously Jamar Chase helps. And that 2019 championship run was such a magic carpet ride that I think Joe endeared himself to this fan base maybe a little bit more than Jayden, and that's unfair because Jayden couldn't control the defense. If you put the Patrick Queen, Derek Stingley, Christian Fulton, Caleb Chase on defense with Jayden Daniels, they win the national championship last year. Sorry, Michigan, they do. But he didn't have that opportunity, so it doesn't quite feel the same. But I think for tonight, if you've got that purple and gold on, you're feeling pretty proud and really happy for Jayden Daniels. It is a huge, huge day for him, and I'm thrilled for him, for his team around him. He's been nothing but an unbelievable class act. I got a text message earlier this week that Jayden and his mother visited a whole floor of young kids with cancer last week, had his LSU gear on. I didn't see it publicized anywhere. I didn't see social media about it anywhere. I didn't see it, any news cameras or stories written about it. And I don't think Jayden really cares about that. I think he does stuff like that all the time. But I got that information from someone that was there and sent a picture to me of Jayden with a bunch of kids. And I was told that the organization said there was just nothing but grace and class. There was not a dollar exchanged for any of the services. It was just simply out of the goodness of his heart. And at this point in his life, this hectic time period where he's trying to create a life-changing situation for him, to take some time out and to go see kids that are fighting a battle, I thought spoke volumes about him off the field, and we know how incredible he is on the field. So tonight is Jayden Daniels' night, and I'm thrilled for him wherever he may go, but it feels like Washington at number 2 is very, very likely, and we'll certainly ask Denton Day his thoughts on that coming up in 45 minutes from right now. We'll shift from the LSU side of this thing to the New Orleans Saints. Luke Johnson covers them for The Advocate. What do they do starting tonight? That is next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard? Our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150s, $10,000 off the new F-150 truck, plus 1.9% for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
Henniger, join us for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road. We're taking a look back at the first round of the NFL Draft and what's next in round number 2. Live at Lunch from Rufino's, 11 a.m. Friday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and the Baton Rouge Clinic bring you the Dreams Come True Radiothon. Dreams Come True is an organization designed to help grant dreams for children with life-threatening illnesses and their families. The Dreams Come True Radiothon is presented today by our very own Boudreaux's Electric. Donate today at 1045ESPN.com.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Rouse is the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints, who will be 14th on the clock if everything holds this evening. Guess that's the question, isn't it? To answer it, we'll bring on Luke Johnson from The Advocate, covers the black and gold, and joins us every Thursday on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Luke, how are you on draft day?
Well, I thought I was going to have a great day, and I get an opportunity to watch the Brewers play midday here before the draft, and they just blew a lead, so I'm not doing it too great right now, man.
Oh, well, my mood's improved now, so that's good. Look, so how many cups of coffee for you from 8 o'clock this morning until whenever you go to bed tonight?
We really don't want to talk about that. Like, you know, I was known back in my heyday for crushing some chili dogs over at Alec Box Stadium, and my new vice might be coffee, and I don't really want to put out there how much I'm drinking because I might have to make a trip to the doctor at some point. I don't know. I think you can get caffeine poisoning.
All right.
We'll see. I'm going to put that to the test, though.
We'll leave it there. Okay, so I see some things yesterday that made me a little bit nervous about the Saints. One is hearing that everybody's trying to trade up for a tackle, and then two, that James Hurst has retired, and I just feel like that's going to get Mickey feeling like he's got to do something really, really quick, and that makes me nervous. So let's dissect those separately. First, what does the James Hurst news mean for New Orleans?
Well, I mean, right now it means they have potentially 3 open spots out of their 5 starting offensive linemen. I think it definitely opens up the possibility of an interior offensive lineman with one of those first 2 picks. I think I'd still be surprised if they went with a guard round 1. But yeah, I don't think it's completely out of the question, especially if you're talking about one of these players who's kind of maybe a question about what their best fit is at the next level. Somebody like Troy Fautanu from Washington or Talais Fuaga from Oregon State, 2 guys who are kind of considered in this tackle class, but a lot of people are kind of looking at them as maybe they're best suited to play guard. But I still think that the Saints' ideal scenario is to draft a tackle in the first round, but it definitely opens up interior in the second round, or if they decide to move around a little bit, if they want to try to get some more capital and finally trade back for the first time since 2007. Maybe they pick up an extra day 2 pick and try to address it there. But it's definitely, it's a concern, man. We're talking about 3/5 of the starting offensive line is completely unknown right now.
And that's obviously going to be a concern to Mickey Loomis, who is known to be aggressive and then told you all earlier this week, like, we think trading back is getting lesser players, so we would like to trade up, and that's what we do. So at what point tonight do you think that a Saints trade up could be triggered? Like, how many offensive linemen off the board would make Mickey nervous?
Well, here's the thing that I've been thinking about this morning is everybody and their mother knows that the Saints need an offensive tackle, right? So if teams really start to, like, especially if, let's say, the Chargers stay put and draft Joe Healey, right, which is definitely a possibility. If that starts a run on tackles and Tennessee is like, well, now we need to get Fashion New at number 7, there's still, the Bears could use a tackle. The Jets could use a tackle. The Raiders could use a tackle. And there's teams behind the Saints who could use a tackle. So, I just think it's definitely, like, it's not like far-fetched that teams see the Saints at number 14, and if this run on the tackle starts, teams try to trade up to go get one of them in front of New Orleans. So I don't think it's a given that the Saints feel like they're going to be comfortable sitting there at number 14 getting the player they want. They might have to make a move up to get one. And obviously we're going to have to see how the draft unfolds. It's definitely possible that the Chargers could trade out of the number 5 pick and team goes up and gets a quarterback.
Yeah.
But I think there's definitely like a doomsday scenario here where they get to number 14 and you look at the picks in front of them and there's 4 quarterbacks and 3 receivers and 4 tackles and Brock Bowers taken, and that's what 12 out of the first 13 picks and a defensive player, and then who do you want to take if you're the Saints in that scenario? I don't know. I feel like there's definitely like a chance here that they have to move up in order to get a guy they want.
Is moving this year's second round pick something that you'd be comfortable with them doing?
No.
Exactly. That's
no.
Okay. That's my answer too.
Yeah. So we know the Saints have never been shy about moving future assets in the past. I think that's definitely a possibility tonight. But they're also doing things a little bit different this year than they have in the past. So I don't know. This is a really tricky spot that they're in. They put themselves here. They are a team that, because they have no problem trading their future picks, they get into a class like this where they really need help at a lot of different places, and they don't have a lot of ammo to do anything with.
No question. Is there a scenario in your mind where wherever the Saints' first pick is tonight, it is not an offensive lineman?
Yeah, I think there's a scenario. If the run on tackles happens, but Brock Bowers is there, I think they would consider taking Brock Bowers. if the whole thing goes kind of crazy but there's no defensive players taken, which I think is not likely, but I think a possibility. Like I could see him taking Dallas Turner. That feels. It doesn't feel likely though. Like I feel like I feel like 90% sure that they're going to come away with the tackle. Just because it's such a huge, gaping, glaring need. They can talk about how they want to take best player available all they want, but best player available is likely going to be tackle. And it's also just they don't have any really good starting options right now. I mean, you can talk yourself into like Trevor Penning getting an off season and maybe being a lot better than he was the last 2 years, but like that's a huge gamble. So I don't know. I feel like they have to come away with something on the offensive end, and really that offensive end has to be on the line.
Chatting with Luke Johnson, covers the Saints for The Advocate. He'll be locked in on the draft. You want to follow him on Twitter @ByLukeJohnson. He'll have all your information this evening. Is there a name or two, or maybe a position that piques your interest with the Saints' second pick of this draft coming up on Friday?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be paying really close attention to see what happens with the receivers. I mean, outside of the top four, I think you include Brian Thomas as probably a lock to go in the first 25 picks or so. I think that, there's a chance for it to get really interesting there. I really like Keon Coleman. I don't think he's going to be there at 45. But you kind of never really know with how teams evaluate wide receivers and what they view as important. Some teams might really need a wide receiver, but they really need a slot. Or it's kind of where you start looking at like Ladd McConkey or Ricky Pearsall. Some teams really, really might want the run and catch guy, and maybe Xavier Legette goes a little bit earlier than we think. It just kind of that it's all dependent on what these teams view as what they need and what they kind of covet in a player. But I just think it has potential to get really interesting. Adonai Mitchell is somebody who has like this huge upside out of Texas, but he's got some concerns. He might fall. He might fall into a range where the Saints can make a play for him. Xavier Worthy is another guy out of Texas who's like super, super interesting. Because he ran a 4.21 at the combine, but he's not just like he's not just like a go ball guy. Like he does some other things. So I mean, I just think it has so much potential to get weird at wide receiver. I think it's going to make it really, really interesting for the Saints in the second round because that's really a position they've been linked to at that pick. So it's really what I'm going to be watching tonight after they finish up at number 14.
Biggest defensive need over the next 3 days.
Like if you're looking at the roster as it currently sits right now, I'd say safety. But I expect the Saints to be at least somewhat active in free agency after the draft. After they kind of know what they have to fill. And I mean, there's so many like Pro Bowl players available in the free agent safety market still. Like guys still need a home. I think they could address that there. I frankly think they could address some of their offensive line problems in free agency after the draft too. The same goes for wide receiver if they don't want to take that in the second round. If it were me, I was the Saints, I'd be trying to just like take a flyer on somebody who plays a premium position and see if they can play out for you. See if you can add some cornerback depth. You can never have enough corners. If you've got maybe a kind of a toolsy defensive lineman who hasn't really produced at a high level in college, maybe you can get him in there and see what you can get out of him because they need some more pass rushing production. I think they could maybe add one of those kind of bendy, undersized rushers who's kind of a one-trick pony. That's okay if you get him in the fifth round. I think they've just got a lot of different areas where they can really address on this team, and I think they're going to have to do it, in part in free agency afterwards.
Try to mix in a cup of decaf here or there, maybe a glass of water, and enjoy the proceedings this evening, and we'll talk next week.
Sounds good, buddy.
That's Luke Johnson, covers the Saints for The Advocate. Follow him on Twitter at @ByLukeJohnson with us every Thursday. If you're looking for our Saints content and looking for some stuff to get you ready for the draft tonight, we've got a lot of our thoughts on the upcoming draft on our YouTube channel, Hunt on Saints. If you subscribe to that, like it, we certainly do appreciate that. If you're hanging out in the Bayou Ford chat, watching us live right now, we'd love it if you throw us a like as well. We'll shift gears over to baseball. Joe Healey from SEC Extras on the D1 baseball side of things is with us every single Thursday, and he's joining us next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. I tell you about it every single day. What I haven't told you every single day is that you can get $1,000 off of your bathroom renovation or closet remodel. $1,000 off if you tell David Duvall and his team heard about you on the Hunt Palmer Show. Go to the website, OneBathAndClosets.com. Select that free consultation. It's right there, OneBathAndClosets.com. Have David Duvall and his team come out and say, hey, heard you on the Hunt Palmer Show. Let's start thinking about how we do this bathroom. $1,000 off right there on the spot. It's because David Duvall is an awesome dude, and he's got a fantastic team. If you're looking for a full-scale bathroom renovation or remodel, they can handle that. If you're looking for something as simple as a tub-to-shower conversion, they can handle that as well. If you don't use that tub, get rid of it. Take it out. Put in a glass walk-in shower. Changes the aesthetic of your bathroom. Changes the functionality of your bathroom. Adds value to your home. $1,000 off at One Bath and Closets. If you tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you over there, it's One Bath and Closets. The website, of course, is OneBathAndClosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. Draft day is finally here. We're getting you set for round 1 of the NFL Draft with all the latest news, notes, and tidbits. So join us for Thursday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Another weekend of SEC baseball just about upon us for all your SEC baseball needs and wants. The SEC Extra team over at D1 Baseball has got you covered. They got the Highway to Hoover podcast and also some great content over at D1Baseball.com. It is Joe Healey and Mark Etheridge. Joe with us every single Thursday and joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Joe, how are you?
Doing pretty well, hon. I appreciate you having me on again.
Always enjoy our conversations. I'm curious your takeaway as Tennessee beats Kentucky 2 out of 3 up there in Lexington.
Yeah, my first one's a general one, and trust me when I tell you I usually hate this cliche. I'm not a big fan of it, but that felt like a super regional weekend where it was just, Kentucky lands a haymaker on Friday with a come-from-behind win that was really emotional and huge, massive record-setting crowds all weekend. And Tennessee comes back and lands a haymaker on Saturday with a pretty routine win. And then Sunday's just one of those kind of gross, nasty, knockout, drag-out fights you have to win on Sundays in the SEC. And Tennessee just had enough to do it. And I think there's maybe an argument for Texas A&M in this conversation, but for me, Tennessee has the best lineup in the SEC and by extension, the country, where that Sunday game, I mean, even when Kentucky had a 6-2 lead in the 5th inning, I just thought, that's just never going to be enough. And when they had 8 runs, that wasn't enough. And, it turned out that it took at least 12 to win because it finished a 13-11 game. But that's the psychological warfare, if you will, that Tennessee lineup provides. It's just, if you're an offense that's paired up against the Tennessee offense, you just can't ever let up because you can't really trust even a good pitching staff to hold them under 8 or 10 in any given game.
What makes Kentucky good?
That their floor is high in every single aspect. They don't really have a glaring weakness like so many of these other teams do. I mean, Tennessee even, we just got done talking about it, but they're still pretty thin on the mound. They got some good bullpen performances over the weekend that really helped them, but they're pretty thin, especially with A.J. Russell out. And we can, of course, go down the line, but for Kentucky, it's not the best lineup in the SEC, but in SEC play, they've hit just about as well as anybody. They don't have like a real Friday dude like Luke Holman or Hagen Smith or Carter Holton, but they've got a bunch of guys they trust. They've got a bunch of different looks in the bullpen. They play really good defense. To me, it's like take what they were last year, the team you and I talked about a lot last year, and just kind of bump it up 25%. I think they're more dynamic offensively. I think they have more guys with stuff on the mound. They're basically the same team defensively, if not maybe a little bit better. They feel like a little bit more athletic in the outfield this year. So it's what they were last year, and they're just better. And I think there's something to be said for they lost some guys after last year, but it is a lot of the same dude. And so that's a group that came out of last year thinking, look, they got their rear ends handed to them in Baton Rouge in that super regional, but their takeaway from that, and God bless them, because this is the attitude you have to have, was not, hey, we weren't even close to really winning that super regional. It was, hey, if we'd have played anybody but LSU, maybe we're in Omaha. And that just feels like the attitude you have to have when you're a program like Kentucky.
Yeah, if the Oakland A's would have come into the box that weekend, they may have had some trouble. That was just not a place anybody needed to be that weekend. Texas A&M, I think they're great. But I look at their starters' numbers in league play, and I'm kind of going, do I really trust all 3? What do you think of their weekend rotation? I don't have to ask you about the lineup.
Yeah, the lineup, no notes for that. But yeah, the starting rotation is kind of a question. You like Prager. He feels like kind of a, he's not Hagen Smith, obviously, but, he and Luke Holman are kind of similar, both in terms of how durable they are. Their stuff is good, not great, so on and so forth. But behind him, Tanner Jones, Justin Lampkin, it hasn't been good of late, but what kind of offsets that is really sneaky good bullpen for A&M. I mean, Evan Oschenbeck is back, and he has an argument to be for the best reliever in the SEC this season. Chris Cortez is electric. They seem to have figured something out with him this season. I could go on and on, but they've got 6 or 7 guys who are having really good years out of the bullpen. So they're in an enviable situation where, hey, if Prager gives us 6 or 7, we feel pretty good about let's just cobble the next 2 days together. And as you mentioned, with their offense, it's not like the pitching staff has to hold the opponent to 5 or fewer. This isn't Vanderbilt, right? So they feel like if you can hold the opponent to 7, 8, like you feel pretty good about A&M winning a lot of those games.
What'd you make of LSU and Missouri over the weekend?
Felt like a series that LSU had to sweep, and it felt like it was there for them. I don't think Missouri did anything, special or overly impressive or did anything we hadn't seen before, which, by the way, Missouri did that against Florida. But against LSU, it just felt like a series that was there for LSU to do something special, if you will. And again, you and I talked about it last week. You don't want to ever bank on a sweep on the road, but this was your opportunity, and you have to go back and think that if the lineup wakes up a little bit earlier for LSU in that middle game when they did basically nothing against Jayden Pimentel to start the game, that result is just a lot different, because once the lineup got going against Missouri's bullpen, it did a really nice job, and it felt like it was only a matter of time before they took the lead, and they could just never quite get there. But the moral of the story is that felt like an opportunity for LSU to change the math a little bit on what they need, and by not sweeping, it feels like they still need to do something the rest of the way to change that math a little bit.
Yeah, my take on the series is like, well, you were looking for a quality start from your number 2. Well, you got his best one of the year. You've been looking for some young guys to step up. Well, you got that offensively with Larson, who was really good. You're looking to run rule somebody, which you hadn't been able to do. You did that, and then you got Luke Holman's worst start of the year. It's like you feel like you got all these things you've been looking for, and then Holman got tagged in the first 4 innings by Missouri. So they're just not consistent enough at this point. That's where we are with the folks in Baton Rouge here. Let's talk about some of the series this weekend before we get to LSU and Auburn. Georgia is at Texas A&M. We mentioned that A&M pitching staff. Could they be susceptible to that Georgia offense?
They could be. Now Georgia obviously is a much different team playing at Foley Field. It's a smaller ballpark. It plays small, all of that stuff. Although I will say what I like about the way this Georgia coaching staff has approached this team is that they don't make any bones about what they are. They're like, look, we're going to have to go out there and just club the ball. Like, I think other coaches might look at that situation and be like, well, let's try to get athletic and let's try to, but no, they're just like, look, we're just going to have to bludgeon the baseball and hope that it's enough right now. And I think that's a good realization of who you are. So I do think there is some risk here for A&M, especially as you mentioned, those last 2 days of the weekend with the starters. You're not exactly sure what you're going to get these days. So yeah, the flip side, of course, is that I don't really have a lot of hope if I'm Georgia that I can do enough to slow down the A&M offense. If you're going to look for optimism for Georgia, so they're getting healthier. They got Matthew Hoskins back last weekend. He honestly might be their most talented guy, full stop, on the roster, but he's had a lot of injuries he's dealt with. They also got Charlie Goldstein back last week, and he pitched in the midweek game a little bit against Clemson. They won. So they are getting a little bit deeper, and I think if you're Georgia, that's kind of what you have to lean on. It's like, look, we don't really have a lot of dudes on this pitching staff. We just have a lot of numbers. I mean, they've used like 20-some-odd pitchers this year, and they're still using a bunch of guys. So if you're A&M, you just have to know you're going to get the kitchen sink thrown at you. And some of these games could get kind of ugly, frankly, because Georgia is going to swing the bat.
No doubt about that. I look at a couple 10-8 teams that are playing each other, Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. Which one of or both do you like to host regionals?
I would say Vanderbilt. A couple things. One is I think they win this series this weekend. They're playing really well at home. They're playing not great on the road. So this series being at home, I think, is a big help for Vanderbilt. The other thing about Mississippi State, and this is where look, those, when you and I were talking about Mississippi State early this season, we're like, here they go again. They're losing games to Austin Peay and losing whoever. This is where it hurts them. As we sit here right now, their RPI is 40. And look, if they rip off like a crazy finish, if they go 10-2 the rest of the way in the SEC, like it's a moot point. But if they're sitting at 16-14, but their RPI is 29, like that's not going to be good enough. So Vanderbilt just already has enough of a cushion. They're sitting in the top 20 in RPI. I also just like Vanderbilt's club better. I think State has proven that their floor is higher than it has been the last couple of years, but they still stub their toe from time to time. Whereas Vanderbilt, like for all of its flaws, and there are some, that offense just is what it is. They're taking care of business at home, and I have a lot more trust just in that program to do what it needs to do to get in position.
Auburn's 2-16. They're coming to the box. What can you tell us about Butch Thompson's club?
Well, not only are they 2-16, but they're a little bit banged up now. I don't know if you saw the play last weekend, but
I read about it.
One of the most awkward plays I've ever seen in my life, sliding feet first into first base, which is like a weird sentence to say in general, but he's likely going to be out. The timetable Butch Thompson gave is not sure if it's going to be 1, 2, or 3 weeks, but it is going to be some period of time. I mean, that's their best bat, full stop. They've got other nice bats, but he's the guy that really makes things go. So if you're LSU, you're looking at this as a big opportunity of, hey, okay, we missed a chance to sweep last weekend. This is a team that's certainly vulnerable to that. They did pitch a little better last weekend, Auburn did, but I didn't see anything from them last weekend that made me think, oh, they may have figured something out here. Like it was the same guys they've been going to. They just pitched a little better last weekend. So this feels like a team that just isn't going anywhere as far as Auburn goes. We kind of all waited for that push they were going to make, and I just don't know that it's going to come, especially now that they're banged up.
Yeah, I mean, Butcher's teams have been great in the second half of years, but this seems like too big a hole. Yeah, too much. Yeah. So hopefully LSU can take care of their business this weekend at the Box. Joe, we appreciate some time. We'll talk next week.
Happy to do it, Hunt. As always, talk to you next week.
Sure. It's Joe Healey, D1 Baseball's SEC Extra Team. He and Mark Ethers do an awesome job. I know that interest here is not quite as keyed up as it was last year, but I listen to Highway to Hoover every week. I listened to it as I was driving around, headed out to Denham Springs this morning, and I was listening to their podcast for the week. They do an awesome job, and we appreciate Joe for giving us some time each and every Thursday. All right, when we come back, really cool news from the 3-on-3 circuit? 7-on-7 circuit. I don't know why I wrote 3-on-3. 7-on-7 circuit for LSU football. Thinking, well, what does that mean? I'll tell you. It's very good stuff coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Give yourself the peace of mind. I know the power is not going to go out. The time to think about that is not when the power goes out. You can't really help yourself at that point. You got to start that process today. You contact Boudreaux's Electric, and you make sure that you get a Generac generator installed at your home or your business. Maybe you're a business owner that owns the property. Well, you're not going to be very productive if you look up and the power's out. But if you've got a generator that's just going to kick it right back on, everybody gets right back to work. I'm going to give you the phone number here for Boudreaux's Electric very quickly, but they're a certified Generac dealer, a premier Generac generator dealer. It means they're in the top 3% nationwide. If you're in South Louisiana, they can service you. Free 7 or 10-year warranty on all these Generac generators, depending on the size of your home or your business and the type of generator that you purchase. 985-397-1562 is the phone number. 985-397-1562. Gonzales location opening up very soon. You're going to want to stay tuned for that as well. Give my friends at Boudreaux's Electric a call. It's 985-397-1562. Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
He's here. Anyone want a Coors Light?
Oh, shoot, I forgot to play the song. I got a guy who can fix this.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com Or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours.
A Thursday edition of Off the Bench's NFL Draft Day is upon us, and we're breaking it down. Also, LSU softball coach Beth Torina stops by at 8 a.m., and the head man of LSU Baseball, Jay Johnson, along with our Munchie segment with Chef Michael Johnson. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
While you're busy with spring cleaning, we'd like to add to the clutter in your bank account to the tune of $2,000. It's the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge Spring Cha-Ching, powered by Citizens Bank and Trust. Register today at 1045ESPN.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
So closing up hour number 1 here, I want to invite y'all out to Don Juan Cigar Bar tonight. It's going to be an awesome draft party. Draft starts up at 7. Our team will be out there before 7. Matt gets off at 6. He should be there about 6:35 or so. Jimmy and Charlie will be there. I will be there as well. A lot of production staff will be there. No Jake and T-Bob. T-Bob's out with this family wedding, and then Jake's up at the draft. But we'll have a great time if you're a listener. Highly enjoy if you come on out. We're not all going to be on the headset at one time, so it'll be like 3-4 guys on the headset. Musa will certainly be there, and then the guys that aren't on the headset will just be out there chatting, watching the draft, and hanging out. So really, really invite y'all to come on out to Don Juan. If you're not going to come out to Don Juan, then check us out on YouTube. We'll be streaming for the entirety of the first round, and very much looking forward to that. Zach Nagy covers LSU for LSU Country, the SI Now network, and he had a tweet earlier today that caught my eye as something that looks really encouraging for LSU football. Bryce Underwood is going to be headlining a new, and Zach Nagy uses the term, Louisiana-based 7-on-7 squad. I don't know how based in Louisiana it is. There are a couple guys on it that are from Louisiana, but you're going to like the names on Bryce Underwood's 7-on-7 team. Harlem Berry is going to be on a 7-on-7 team. He's the #1 running back in the country from New Orleans down at St. Martin's. DeCorian Moore is going to be on this 7-on-7 team. He's the #1 wide receiver in the country, committed to LSU. Keelan Moses, 4-star linebacker from U-High, will be on this team. And also on this team are going to be a couple of guys that LSU is very much pursuing in this signing class, and that's James Simon, top 10 running back in the country, a 4-star from up in Shreveport, as well as Khalil Lockett, who's the #2 wide receiver in the nation. Now, Lockett is from a town that I am probably not going to pronounce correctly, but I'm going to call it Sashi, S-A-C-H-S-E, Sash, maybe Sash, Texas, whatever. It's right outside of Dallas in the Plano area. He is a 5-star by 24/7, 4-star by On3 in ESPN and Rivals, but a top 75 player, top 25 player, depending on where you look. The RPM prediction machine from On3 has got him 30.7% to Texas, but also 18% to LSU. So these are two guys that LSU is pursuing. Any way you slice it, this is a good thing for LSU to have the headliner of your class in Bryce Underwood being the leader of a 7-on-7 team that has Harlem Berry, that has DeCorian Moore, that has Keelan Moses, all players that are incredibly talented and committed to you, as well as some targets. Ryan Clark's going to coach this team. And I just have a hard time believing that anyone who plays on a 7-on-7 team, quarterbacked by Bryce Underwood, with the collection of talent that those guys bring, and then the personality and, let's call it what it is, fame of Ryan Clark coaching it, I have a hard time believing there's going to be a lot of guys on that team that don't have a ton of fun. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of purple and gold flavor on that team. So does it mean LSU's going to land Khalil Lockett? No. Does it mean LSU's going to land James Simon? No. Do I think it's a good sign? Sure. As recruiting goes, I think that's as quality a sign as you can get. So I think, the world of recruiting and high school football has changed so much. It's no longer, show up in August with your guys you've known since you were 6 and find some shoulder pads in the back corner and make sure your chin strap still buckles. You can spray some rust spray on it. Like, that's not quite it all the time. Now that people are flying all over the country to play in 7-on-7 tournaments. And this team's going to be pretty good. I would pick them to be real good without knowledge of a single player on any other 7-on-7 team in the entire country. I think that team's going to be pretty good. So I think that's a good scoop by Zach Nagy there from LSU country, and a very, very good thing for LSU as you kind of keep the core nucleus of this huge headlining class that's ranked number 1 in the country together right now on the 7-on-7 circuit. That's going to do it for our first hour here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Our Thursday shows are brought to you by Rouse's. Always invite you to download the Rouse's app. Make shopping so easy. If you're looking to go home and watch the draft for 3 days, got to get some groceries to get that done. Need your chips and your dips, they got you covered. Need your sandwich trays, they got you covered. Need something to throw on the grill, they got you covered. And of course, they've also got a great selection of wine, spirits, and beer as well. Beer fridge all the way in the back left, Burbank and Lee. It's where I spend a little time after I'm done with my Friday remotes over there. Love the folks over at Rouse's. Download the Rouse's app, do your shopping there. If you don't have time to go in, let your personal shopper go in and drop it off right to you when you pull up to the store. We got a lot to get to in hour number 2. We come back, Denton Day. He's a big Washington fan. It's Jayden Daniels Day for him, we all believe. We'll get his thoughts on that. Chris Blair in 20 minutes from right now talking LSU baseball. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150s, $10,000 off the new F-150 truck, plus 1.9% for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206 9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. The first round of the NFL Draft is just hours away from Detroit. There are plenty of unknowns, but not with the #1 pick. The Bears are expected to take USC quarterback Caleb Williams. His coach, Lincoln Riley, talks about the difficulties of playing the most visible position.
It gets the most attention, whether success or failure or anything in between. It's kind of the lightning rod in football. And so if you don't have that inner belief and self-confidence, you're going to have a hard time playing this position well, especially at the higher levels. And so Caleb's always had that.
Lincoln Riley, live draft coverage starts here on ESPN Radio at 7 Eastern. The draft also on ESPN and ABC TV at 8 Eastern. The Commanders will retire number 28 for cornerback Darrell Green. He'll be the 5th player to have his Washington jersey retired. No one has worn it since he retired more than 20 years ago. Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. Game 3 for the Hurricanes and Islanders. Carolina with a 2-0 series lead. Coverage at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN2.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen. Coming up Friday, we'll recap every pick of the first round of the draft and get you ready for round 2. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Number 2, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're working towards the weekend, coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city. It is NFL Draft Day. We are 5 hours from the Chicago Bears being on the clock. And the festivities will begin from there. We got a busy hour number 2 coming at you here. Chris Blair in 15 minutes. Voice of the Tigers. We'll talk about Jayden Daniels, about Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, as well as some LSU baseball as he was up in Columbia when the Tigers won 2 out of 3 there. And we'll talk a little bit about LSU in Auburn this weekend as LSU welcomes visitors from the Plains for a 3-game set over at Alec Box Stadium. My guesses on where Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas are headed at the bottom of the hour. But we're going to go to Jim's Firearms.net hotline right now and chat with the guy that we talk with all football season long about college football, which we're going to do a little bit here. But we also want to talk some pro football because our guy Denton Day from SiriusXM Sports, big-time Washington Commanders fan, and he's expecting a little bit of good news this evening. Denton, how are we feeling right now?
I'm expecting more than just some good news, hon. I'm expecting Jayden Daniels this evening, which is the best kind of news. I haven't been this excited for an NFL draft since probably 2012. Now, maybe that's a bad omen because that didn't in the long term work out for my squad. But I'm excited, man. I'm anticipating that Jayden Daniels is going to be my quarterback. tonight.
So that was, of course, the Robert Griffin III pick, which looked incredible. I was actually in the Superdome for his first career start, and I had the New Orleans Saints facing a rookie quarterback in my Survivor League that year. And I sat there in the dome and watched Robert Griffin throw screen passes for 3 hours and beat the New Orleans Saints and in my Survivor pool in 3 hours of the season. But we all know how that story ended. How agonizing has it been searching for a quarterback in Washington?
It's been brutal. I mean, if you look at Terry McLaurin, right, just take him as an example. And he's a good receiver in this league. I would say he's on the conversation of top 10, probably not top 10, but at least in that conversation. And he's played with about 10 different quarterbacks. He was drafted in 2019. Like, that's an absurd amount that he's had to deal with. So the idea of getting one and then having one for, I just need 2 contracts. Just get 2. I've never seen a quarterback play for my team in D.C. for longer than 4 years. It's an asinine. I'm nearly 30 years old. I've never seen the same quarterback for more than 40 years. So agonizing is the perfect way to put it. Demoralizing would be another way. It's been a lot of bad.
Why is Jayden Daniels the guy?
I think all the upside. I think you look at the way that the league is trending with the mix of mobility and being able to throw, and I think that's one of the things that is kind of lost amongst some, certainly not in Baton Rouge, but amongst some certainly here in D.C. They look at him as just more of a running guy, but that dude can throw the football. So I'm really excited about the balance that he's going to bring with doing both and the threat that he's going to bring with doing both. I think it maximizes your offensive capability if you have a guy that is a threat to both run the football effectively and throw the ball deep, throw the ball intermediate, and move the offense down the field. It's something this team has been missing for quite some time. I think he checks all the boxes they're looking for.
Is there a scenario where there's a Herschel Walker situation here and Washington moves out of the pick for a king's ransom?
No, because if there was, it would have already happened. It's very rare, I think, over the course of draft history that we see someone deliver a king's ransom on draft day. Yeah. It feels like those kind of deals are always done a couple of days before, maybe a couple of weeks before. So we're sitting here a couple of hours away, 5 hours away from when the Bears are officially on the clock. At this point, Washington knows what they're going to do. They've already said they're not trading out of the pick. So unless you start trading Super Bowl trophies, I don't think they're moving out.
So what is the feeling from the community about that proposed selection?
It's kind of hit or miss. I mean, I've been the one that's been, beating the drum for Jayden Daniels. As you know, I've been a huge fan of him for a long time. And once we kind of got the realization that the Sam Howell thing was not going to work out here in D.C., I was right on top of it. We got to go get this Jayden Daniels guy. I think more fans are starting to either lean that direction or at least just come to grips with reality that he is going to be that selection. But there's still a segment of the population that likes Drake May. There's a segment of the population that likes J.J. McCarthy. That one is a little more head-scratching. But it seems like NFL guys really, really love J.J. But I would say you're probably looking at least 70% of the fan base that's on board with Jayden Daniels.
So I'm curious as the feeling about the organization independent of Jayden Daniels now that Daniel Snyder is now in the rearview mirror.
Oh my God, it's so much better. We threw a station party last year when the team was officially sold. Hunt, you would have thought we won the Super Bowl. The way that people were celebrating, oh my God. I mean, the devil is dead. Dan Snyder is hiding somewhere in London. The feeling, I mean, last year, as bad as they were on the field, it did not matter because that rat-faced bastard was not the owner of this team. It is so much better that he is gone.
I want to ask, what was the worst? I mean, can you describe that era? It seemed from afar to be just worse than the worst reality show.
And it was even worse than that. I mean, it was just constantly, because tonight I'm excited because it's the NFL draft. There was a stretch for about 10 years where there was no excitement. Even the RG3 year withstanding. Outside of that, there was never any excitement because you knew how it was going to end up going. I mean, at one point 15 years ago, Joe Gibbs retired because of the Sean Taylor situation. He wanted to go do some NASCAR stuff. Totally get that. They're looking for a new head coach. They hire the offensive coordinator before hiring the head coach, realize they're not going to get a head coach, and then promote the offensive coordinator overnight, who had only been a quarterback's coach, and he was now the head coach. That was I was 12 years old when that happened, and I'm still asking my dad, does this happen everywhere, or are we just kind of in trouble? And he put his hand on my shoulder and said, hopefully it gets better, and walked away.
Just had to wait till 2024 for it to get better. Here we are. It's about to get better with Jayden Daniels. Denton Day is with us all football season long, talking college football with a big Washington fan, and want to get his thoughts on Jayden, very likely headed to our nation's capital. But I also want your thoughts on some of the other guys. The quarterbacks. Where are you on Caleb Williams? Where are you on Drake May as professionals? And where are you on J.J. McCarthy?
I like Drake May more than most people seem to now. It's really weird. It felt like in the lead up to the combine, people loved Drake May, and then it felt like after the combine, he needs to sit a year. There's so much work that needs to be done there. I think he's going to be a good NFL pro. I wouldn't take him number 2 overall, but I do think a team that takes him will get an upside in the quarterback. I assume you could say the same thing for J.J. McCarthy, but I am a little afraid of quarterbacks that they win the intangible side of the lead up to the NFL draft, but when you watch them on film, there's some question marks. And this is not a J.J. McCarthy fault by any stretch of the imagination, but I cannot get the Penn State game out of my head where he literally did not throw the ball in the second half. Now, they won, so they did what they needed to do, and you can beat your chest if you're a J.J. fan and say, hey, he's a winner, but he literally did not throw the ball in the second half. I had never seen something like that, so the idea that maybe his team didn't trust him when they needed him against a good team, that is alarming to me a little bit.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you there. Where are you on wide receiver between Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors?
I'm a Malik Neighbors guy, so I think he is going to have the best career out of everybody. I love Roma Dunze as well. Now, I am aware that because we haven't really seen anything from Marvin Harrison Jr. since Ohio State's season concluded, that it is a little unfair because we've seen Malik Neighbors work out. We've seen Roma Dunze to an extent work out, and Marvin Harrison Jr. just kind of went in the cave and hid for a little bit. Now, he said he was getting better at football. I trust him in that. I don't think he was out here just wiling out for no reason. But I do think not being able to see Marvin Harrison Jr. throughout this entire process is clouding a lot of people's vision. He's a good wide receiver. But I'll tell you what, I think the Chargers are going to draft Malik Neighbors, and that's one of the better targets that Justin Herbert will have played with in his young career.
Well, Denton, I'll tell you this. There are a lot of purple and gold eyeballs on Cincinnati in the fall these days, and I'm telling you that there will be some on the nation's capital, assuming things go the way we think this evening. If there's room on the bandwagon, should things get really good, there's going to be some people in South Louisiana looking and pulling for the Redskins. Not the Redskins anymore, the Commanders. I knew that would happen eventually, but that's what's going to happen here down in South Louisiana. We tend to follow our greats.
Hey, we got room. It's not often that we're welcoming guys on the bandwagon here, but we got some room for you.
We appreciate some time. Enjoy the football this evening.
Yep, Hunter, appreciate it as always, my friend.
He's Denton Day, Sirius XM college football overtime during the season, and with us on Mondays during college football season. Always enjoy our chats with Denton. I just think Jayden Daniels is going to be a good pro. I realize there's not really a scenario you could paint where a guy does that in a college football season and wins the Heisman Trophy, and then that town's radio host goes, yeah, but I think he's going to suck in the league. I mean, I guess theoretically someone could have said that in Gainesville a decade ago with Tebow, but I doubt it. I doubt anybody said that. I mean, it's just that's just the nature of this. But there's not really a box that Jayden doesn't check unless you're going to hold the fact that he doesn't weigh a lot of pounds against him. We'll see. But I wanted to get Denton's perspective on that, and he certainly chimed in excellently there with the feelings as they threw a party when Dan Snyder sold the football team. They should have some fun tonight, as Jayden Daniels should be headed that way pretty quickly. Chris Blair talking LSU baseball and a little bit of football as well coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
ESPN Bet, ready to take you through all the huge sports moments this spring. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN has it all, including offers and promotions from Scott Van Pelt and Stephen A. Smith. From the playoff intensity, getting out on the links, out to the ballpark, there's no better time to be a sports fan than right now. New users get $100 in bonus bets for making any sportsbook bet over at ESPN Bet. So download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. In partnership with LeBares Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. Draft day is finally here. We're getting you set for round 1 of the NFL Draft with all the latest news, notes, and tidbits. So join us for Thursday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The excitement is palpable. The 2024 NFL Draft kicks off right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Tune in tonight at 6 p.m. for first round coverage, then Friday night at 6 p.m., and then Saturday morning at 11 a.m. for the last few rounds of the draft. Our coverage of all 7 rounds is brought to you locally by Boudreaux's Electric. 2024 NFL Draft live on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Chris Blair is the voice of the Tigers. Joins us every Thursday on the Jim's Firearms Hotline and does so now. Chris, how are you?
I'm good, Hunt. How you doing, man?
I'm doing quite well. If I told you after draft night in 2020, after Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson were selected. Oh, no, Jamar Chase wasn't selected then. But after that season that we watched them play, I said, yeah, that was pretty good. But they're going to do the exact same thing coming up in 4 years. I have the Heisman quarterback and 2 first-round receivers. No big deal. Would you believe me?
No, I probably wouldn't have, because I had been told that was not possible when I got here. You know, there's been a ton of guys who have gone, but not in that type of quarterback and receivers. Obviously, they've got a long history of getting first-round draft picks here at LSU. But as you talk about, that kind of cluster of talent that everybody's talking about. I mean, they've been talking about them for weeks now. I mean, you can't turn on a television talking about the draft and you don't see either Coach Brian Kelly, Jayden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., or at the very least, those 3 letters, LSU. They're all over the place, and they'll be all over the place tonight from Detroit.
What are your lasting memory of Jayden B?
I just think that watching him develop the long ball, and again, I don't have any information, didn't have any information that he couldn't do that when he got here. We just didn't see it a lot. And then suddenly I go back to that Ole Miss game in 2022, a couple of long passes where his receivers made really some incredible catches, that it was almost as if everything kind of clicked and he was like, yeah, I trust these guys and I've got the ability to get it down the field. Let me just get it up there, give them a chance to make a play, and they'll do it. And then I just think his decision-making, I thought he was so good last season in not bailing on the play just to run, but staying with it and still being able to use his arm. But if need be, be able to drop it down, take off, and make big plays. He was, a lot like Joe Burrow in different ways now. I'm not comparing him to skill set-wise, but he just made a very difficult guy to defend. And so many times when I'm pretty sure the defensive coordinators from the opposing team would say, we called the right play and we executed it pretty good, and he still beat us.
I just don't ever remember, and it's never happened, but an LSU quarterback making the University of Florida look like they had 11 guys stuck in quicksand. I mean, he was running by himself, and there's nobody that could catch him. I couldn't fathom that someone in purple and gold could do that to a program like that.
He was something to watch, man. I mean, he really was, and again, I just think about the development, and I say this, and I'm sure you heard me say this prior to 23, is that all the talk, it wasn't anything I noticed, but just being around the program, listening to the coaches, going to fall camp, everybody kept talking in terms of the same way they talked about Joe going from 18 to 19. And I remember preseason doing a number of interviews talking about how if that is true, then we're set for something to watch this season. And again, we saw it, the 18 to 19 progression for Joe and the 22 and 23 progression for Jayden Daniels. It was, we all were very lucky to watch both of those guys play in purple and gold.
It's going to be fun to watch tonight and see where all three of those guys do in fact land. Let's shift gears over to baseball. You were up in Como over the weekend, and we saw LSU take control of the series with Luke Holman then on the mound, and they falter in Game 2. We've seen this story, and they generally didn't get it done in Game 3, and then they get behind 2-0, but they found a way. What did that show you?
Yeah, I think, talking to Jay, even on Sunday, in the dugout before Game 3, he said, Chris, I know last night really didn't look like it, but the last 3 games, we really are playing much better. It's not showing up. It did, obviously, in the 12-1 run rule on Friday. He said, but I'm talking total. We're playing better. Our offense is now becoming a little more efficient and not relying on just 3 or sometimes 4 guys on a given game. And, I think that was the culmination of Sunday's game after, you get down early. Almost looked exactly like the start of Saturday's Game 2. But instead of waiting until the 8th and 9th inning to get after them, LSU was able to do it in the middle innings. And frankly, Doug Thompson, I give him a lot of credit. He's been saying for over a month that if LSU was going to get moving, start to collect some wins, there were a couple of guys that were going to have to step up. And the number one candidate was Paxton Kling. He said, because you really can't afford to have anybody out there defensively at center field, but you've got to get some production. It would be great if he could do it at the top of the order to set the table and turn some solo home runs from Tommy White and Hayden Travinsky and the guys to 2- and 3-run home runs. And I think Paxton's done a much better job over the last 3 games. He had 3 doubles, 3 runs batted in against Missouri, worked his way on base a couple of times. So not to single him out, but I think if he starts to play better, again, with the emergence of Ashton Larson, who for my book right now, he's an incredible freshman, taking nothing away from Stephen Milam, who's been an everyday guy virtually all season. But Larson's doing it in the field, doing it at the plate. It doesn't seem like he's, struggling at all against the SEC. And then some other guys, I think Josh Pearson's another that if we can just get him a little more consistent at the plate. I like what I've seen the last couple of games, and goodness knows, with just 12 conference games remaining, 3 at home this weekend, 9 of those 12 being at the box. They got to string some wins together. It's almost as if every game hunt you put the must-win quotations around it.
Just about. And when they do win, a lot of times Griffin Herring pitches. What's it been like watching him blossom from year 1 to year 2?
Yeah, he was one of the guys early on in the season that we kind of expected would be in the mix. Excuse me. We didn't know that he was going to be the guy coming out of the bullpen. And, you've looked over the last 3 years, there's a handful of guys each season under Coach Johnson that you're like, you know what, when all else fails and they got to have the guy, this is who he's going with. Riley Cooper certainly comes to mind. He was used multiple times, and while they're two different style pitchers, right now, Jay Johnson's guy out of the bullpen is Griffin Herring. And again, he's got great command of his fastball. His off-speed stuff is, again, whether he wants to get it over for a strike or whether he wants you to chase, he's got it all locked in right now. We need a couple of other guys because Griffin's not the type, to compare him to Riley Cooper that's going to be able to give you 2 or 3 outings over the weekend. So if we can just get a couple of other guys out of that pen. And I do like, as we talked last week, about some of the younger guys that Jay is now calling upon, Aiden Moffitt and Cam Johnson. And I enjoyed watching Sam Dutton again on Tuesday night. I think he's still going to be in the mix, and I expect to see him come out of the bullpen this weekend.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise anybody, I think, to see Sam Dutton in a spot here, especially if LSU can find a way to win 3 games. You're going to have to use multiple bullpen guys to get there. You're also going to need Gage Jump, who delivered his best outing as a Tiger back last Friday. What did you see from the left-hander?
Yeah, it's Jay reminds me a lot, and you kind of forget because he's been part of the weekend rotation for what seems to be forever, but he had very few innings of college baseball prior to starting here at LSU. So, I mean, if you use common sense, you would say as he's gotten more experience, now he's starting to really fine-tune what he does. It was incredible to watch him this past week, just simply because he reminded me a little bit of Ty Floyd with his fastball in the sense that he was throwing a lot of fastballs to Missouri, yet it was up, it was low, it was left, it was right, and he had enough off-speed stuff that they really looked off balance. Again, getting just 3 hits off of him in Friday's game 1. And he's doing it mainly with the fastball, but his ability to control the angle and where it went and where it was going and not be far off the plate. I mean, the strike count was very high for him. I think it was 98 pitches, 64 strikes, if memory serves. That tells me he's kind of gotten into the groove now, and I'm looking forward to him on Friday night, keeping an Auburn team that's not too dissimilar from Missouri stat-wise when it comes to hitting the baseball.
Yeah, and it sounds like, based on our conversation with Joe Healey back in hour number 1, that Auburn will be without their best hitter, Ike Irish, who got hurt last weekend. His update from Butch Thompson was that it was going to be 1, 2, potentially 3 weeks, and if that's the update, it's kind of unlikely that you would see him rushed back this weekend when they're 2-16. So we'll see how that shakes out. I'm curious, kind of the vibes around the team, vibes around Jay on Monday at the coaches show. Now that they've gotten a win under their belts.
Yeah, it was a fun, as you can imagine. I mean, coming back from Columbia on Sunday evening, it was a lot different atmosphere on the plane, and you saw a little more. Again, when you're losing and you're flying back from Fayetteville or you're flying back from Knoxville or wherever you're coming, it's a pretty quiet plane most of the time. But there are certain groups that you see together. That was a different vibe on Sunday. I mean, everybody was locked in, everybody was having a good time, and we're really lifting each other up, giving each other, trouble on a guy that did something silly in the bullpen or whatever. So it was a totally different kind of feeling coming back. And then talking to Jay Monday, I asked him about it, and he said, yeah, this is definitely a different vibe. And, again, a lot of these guys who are the everyday guys were spot guys a year ago. And they saw that team that they were on have that time of camaraderie, but they haven't built it yet. And he goes, I think maybe that's a positive sign that we can maybe make a run at it here, see what happens, make sure you get to Hoover. That's important. That's really objective number 1. And then maybe it takes a game or 2 in Hoover to at least get you into the postseason. And as everybody knows in college baseball, if you can just get there, some crazy stuff can happen.
I enjoy the magic moments that LSU Baseball puts up on Instagram when Jay awards whatever player it is that tipped the game towards winning. And on Sunday, I thought it was interesting. He gave 2, and one of them was to a guy he just said that was out there and just wasn't going to let us lose, and he gave that to Alex Milazzo without a specific play in mind. What do you think Jay means by that, and what do you think he values in Alex behind the plate?
Alex is pretty vocal in the game. I don't know how much of it came across on television, but he was working verbally from behind home plate with all of the pitchers. When guys would miss a couple of pitches He didn't need to go out there and talk to him. He literally was barking at him from behind the plate. And I think Jay likes that. And secondly, on the radio broadcast, they're in the fifth inning, 2 outs quickly, back-to-back. Milam goes off the top of the fence with a triple to left. You get Alex at the plate. He gets a 2-2 count and fouls off about 25 balls and just fights him off and fights him off and fights him off. Finally gets a ball 3, and then the next pitch was high and inside for ball 4. That gets him on base. That at bat, I told Bill Francis, I said, you watch and see if Jay Johnson doesn't mark an asterisk beside that at bat. And lo and behold, when they went on to win the game, because he, of course, was the second run to tie the game at 2-2 after Paxton delivered the double, Bill came up to the booth after the game. We were packing up. He goes, well, you were right. First thing out of Jay's mouth to the media was that at bat by Alex Milazzo. So I think you combo that with the way he was handling the pitchers is why Jay said what he said, and that's why he was part of the magic moments.
We'll see you at the box this weekend, Chris. Thanks.
You got it, my man.
He's Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, LSU Sports Radio Network. Jay Johnson Show every single Monday over at TJ Ribs, and Chris is with us on Thursdays each and every week. We appreciate a little bit of his time talking some football and talking a little bit of baseball as well. I'm looking up at the screen. They were just running the Malik Neighbors highlight package. He's good. Just if you, the listener, were interested in my thoughts on it, he's pretty good. We'll talk a little bit more NFL draft coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Visit us at LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino this spring for all the hoops and hockey playoff action. We've got the biggest screens. That's one good thing. The best food and drink. That's a couple more good things. Plus, giving away PIN cash bonuses and prizes to PIN Play Rewards members. If you're not a member, join today by downloading and registering for the PIN Play app from the App Store. Unlock all the fun, including a chance to win up to $2,000 in PIN cash. All this and more. Make LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino your spring sports viewing headquarters. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered.
Join us for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road. We're taking a look back at the first round of the NFL Draft and what's next in round number 2. Live at Lunch from Rufino's, 11 a.m. Friday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Eric Cole just made an ace down at the Zurich. Par 3 there on the back 9. A couple of 11 under rounds are done. They're playing better ball today, so both players play the hole out, better score win. So it's a birdie fest out there in Avondale on this Thursday. Brim Hubbard and Cole's Kazire fire 11 under 61s. Thompson Novak, Dittrey McIntyre, Bob McIntyre, McNeese State product there, and a European Ryder Cupper on a 10 under team. Cam Champ, who hits the ball as long as anybody out there. I watched him a couple of years ago tee off on one. Looked a little different than a lot of the other guys that were hitting tee shots on that hole. Those guys shot 10 under as well. As far as the biggest name team, I would suggest that's done, Hasis Thigala and Will Zalatoris shot 7 under 65 as a team today. Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry birdied their first 3 holes of the day, but they teed off later this afternoon, so they're very early in their round down there in Zurich. Excited to get down there on Saturday and check that out down in Avondale. I saw Pete Prisco's latest mock draft today, and it piqued my interest. I thought it made a lot of sense, and I was just looking at where the LSU guys fell. And in this iteration of his mock draft, it's his final one. He does have Jayden Daniels going number 2 to the Washington Commanders. He does have the Giants trading up to number 3 to take Drake May in the Patriots spot. Then he's got the Cardinals staying put, taking Marvin Harrison. He does have what is becoming a more popular pick, and that is J.C. Latham to the Chargers. I was going to say San Diego. That would be incorrect. The Los Angeles Chargers. The thought there is they've got Staley at left tackle, and J.C. Latham is a big, big dude that is a run-shoving right tackle, and that is Jim Harbaugh's dream. So if you've got your left tackle, you don't need to worry about taking Olu Fashanu or Joe Alt, who are left tackles. You can take your right tackle there and make that the cornerstone of your offensive line in front of Justin Herbert. So in this deal, the Patriots have traded back. They get J.J. McCarthy at number 6, and Joe Alt falls into the Titans' lap at number 7. None of this really matters to you, Saints fan, because we're talking about the first 7 picks, other than the fact that 2 tackles are gone. But Malik Neighbors falls a little bit because of what the Giants have done in this draft, which is trading up for a quarterback. And I think a lot of people think Malik Neighbors would be headed very likely to the Giants at the 6th spot. Dallas Turner, we feel like the Falcons are going to go defense there. Dallas Turner at 8 to the Falcons. And this is where the Bears get Malik Neighbors. And I think that's a really cool spot for Malik to land. You're not the number 1 wide receiver. The Bears have that. And you're playing with a rookie quarterback who you may become a blossoming young duo with in Caleb Williams. While I would think Malik Neighbors would certainly rather go 6th than 9th, there are dollar signs attached to all of these picks. I just think that might be a really good landing spot for him. Y'all know I'm a Cubs fan, but I don't have any allegiance to the Bears, certainly. I just think that would be a cool landing spot for Malik there in Chicago at number 9. So this means the Jets, not Brock Bowers, but Rome Odunze is there for them at number 10. He's got the Vikings not trading up a ton to get picks, not all the way up to number 3, but trading up to 11 to take Michael Penix. And then the Eagles get Terry and Arnold at cornerback from Alabama. Talise Fulaga, the tackle, goes to the Raiders. And in this situation, the Saints do end up with Olu Fashanu. I'm going to get that right, Fashanu, at number 14. That's a lot of moving pieces if we're just talking about the New Orleans Saints and how they're going to end up with their tackle. Because we all thought Alt would be the first one off the board. Well, in this deal, the Chargers sitting there, they're taking J.C. Latham. So Alt falls back a couple of spots, and ends up landing with the Titans. We feel like they're probably going to take a tackle if they stay there. The most interesting dynamic of this entire draft, as we kind of put a bow on Saints draft prep, is that the Raiders are right in front of the Saints and very much are in the market for a tackle. And I don't know if the Saints probably feel one or two ways. They either feel like, okay, we have Fashanu, Fuaga, and Latham, all graded about the same. We'll take the best one available at our spot. If that's the case, they're probably all there. But if you have a huge discrepancy between Fuaga and Fashanu, then it feels like Mickey's going to move. And I asked Luke Johnson about this in the first hour, and he said he would not give up their second-round pick this year. I've heard T-Bob talk about this on the morning show. I've certainly been vocal about this. I think that there is not a player in this draft that is realistic for the Saints to acquire for that second-round pick. Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels and those guys at the top it's not realistic. But of the realistic players you could trade your second-round pick for, none of them make sense to mortgage another asset behind it. I realize y'all are saying, stop saying the same thing over and over and over. I feel like I have to reiterate. Like, there is not a player that they need to ditch that second-round pick for to move up. And if you start talking about packaging this year's second and next year's first to move all the way up to get Joe Alt, I'm going to lose it. It's just malpractice with that many gaps on your roster to absolutely ditch a chance to fill one. I just can't live with it. The consensus here is that the Saints will end up with Olu Fashanu. I mean, that's poor use of words. I hate when I do that. That's not the consensus. The overwhelming majority of opinions are that the Saints will get Olu Fashanu. And I don't know how they value him, but it feels like it makes a lot of sense. I don't know what the Chargers are going to do. I don't know what the Titans are going to do. I don't know what the Jets are going to do. I don't know what the Raiders are going to do, but we know that all those teams are sitting there with the opportunity to take tackles. And it just makes me nervous what Mickey might do. I don't see the Saints making two selections tonight. I think it's only one. And I just wouldn't be opposed to them trading back a little bit and making a couple picks. But I just don't see that as a possibility for this front office. And Mickey Bloomis basically said that he wasn't going to do that. In this Pete Prisco mock, Brock Bowers falls behind the Saints to number 15. Do we think Mickey is interested in him? I don't know. And to kind of put a bow on this, I mean, Amarius Mims goes to the Bengals at 18 here. That's another tackle option that I wouldn't be opposed to the Saints taking. Graham Barton from Duke, who's an offensive tackle, goes in the 20th pick here. That's a guy that I wouldn't have a problem with the Saints taking. Jared Verse goes to the Dolphins at number 21 here, which is not a guy that I would be opposed to the Saints taking. So we'll see what they decide to do. In this latest Pete Prisco mock, Brian Thomas goes 28th to Buffalo, which would be a really cool spot to play for him with a veteran quarterback who's one of the stars in the league. So, look, there's going to be a ton of fireworks tonight. It never goes exactly the way people think. I think we can all pretty well rest easy on those first two picks. I think it's going to be Caleb Williams and then Jayden Daniels. And after that, we'll see who decides to come up and make a deal. It happens every year. Somebody's coming. Giants, Vikings, somebody's coming. We'll see where they get to and what it means for the New Orleans Saints, and we'll certainly react to it coming up on tomorrow's show. All right, that's about it. We're going to put a bow on this thing. Let's go take a timeout. We'll come back, play some Take It or Leave It. We're done on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio, video, security solutions, avssla.com. I know a lot of you are going to be parking on the couch tonight. You're going to be watching the NFL draft. You're going to hear that draft chime. It could be in surround sound. It could be on a gorgeously mounted brand new television. All that could be done with the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. Check out the videos and the pictures of their awesome work on their Instagram handle. It's AVSS_BR. Mitchell Fisher and his team, it's a local company, can service you anywhere here in our listening area in the South Louisiana. And when I give you this cell phone number, it's not like some corporate hotline that you'll leave a voicemail into and they'll get back to you in 7 business days. This is Mitchell Fisher's cell. That's how this company runs. That's how it operates. Mitchell's cell, 225-439-7920. It's 225-439-7920. That gets you to the owner of the company. He can tell you what they can do for you. Get him out there to look at your home, whether it's the audio side of things, the video side of things, and security systems. They did one at our house. They can do one for you as well. They're online at avssla.com. It's Audio Video Security Solutions at avssla.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. Draft day is finally here. We're getting you set for round 1 of the NFL Draft with all the latest news, notes, and tidbits. So join us for Thursday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live After 5 is back this spring. Clock out and rock out with us Fridays from April 12th through May 24th in downtown Baton Rouge for the free concert series from 5 to 8 p.m. Join us for another season filled with incredible music, delicious food, talented artists, and a lively second line parade. Tomorrow, come out to see Todd O'Neill for Live After 5.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
All right, we're about done. Shout out to folks at Rouse's. Get on by and do your weekend grocery shopping at Rouse's. I tell you every single week to download the Rouse's app because it makes everything so easy for you. If you have time, Rouse's is always an excellent shopping experience. If you don't have time to get those groceries, just do your online shopping right there on the app. Set your pickup time. You pull in, no matter the location. As long as you spend $35 on groceries, not an extra cent on the curbside pickup. Makes things so easy, so convenient. It's the Rouse's way, and we appreciate them for being part of our Thursday shows. They are the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints, who will be on the clock 14th tonight if all things go to plan. So we'll be reacting to it on tomorrow's show most certainly. Let's finish things up today by some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. The Chicago Bears unveiled a $5 billion proposal for a new domed lakeside stadium to replace Soldier Field and are asking for public funding to build it. Take it or leave it.
Look, I'm going to take it.
I'll take it.
I'm torn on the multiple aspects of this. One is the public funding side, which a lot of people hate. I don't know how government and money and stuff works. I don't know how much that impacts the taxpayer year over year. I don't know, how realistic it is for one family or one ownership group to finance the entire stadium. It happens all over the league, but it is what it is. As far as them being on the lakeside, I think that's good. It's a cool setting that they've got there at Soldier Field right now on the lakefront. It's kind of hard logistically for a lot of people because there's not a lot of parking. You got to use a lot of public transportation to get there, which is more doable in Chicago than it is in Baton Rouge. But it's a little bit of a logistical mess. The only thing I love about this is the domed portion of it, because it's just not real football to go out there in late December and early January when it's 11 degrees in Chicago and the wind's blowing 35 miles an hour and expect human beings to compete at the highest level in a sport. They call it bear weather in Chicago. They love it. I think it's stupid. Put a dome on it and let's play some real football. So I hope it gets done, but they've been talking about some stuff like this for 2 years and they haven't been able to get anything figured out, so we'll see.
All right, next one here. Jazz Fest. Take it or leave it.
Gonna leave it. Wife is headed to Jazz Fest tomorrow. She's seeing the Killers, apparently. Mr. Brightside, good song. I'd sing it. I don't know any other songs. I've done Jazz Fest twice. Once was Elton John Day, and I actually had the Acura stage.
Wait, you know about a few years ago?
This was probably 2014, 13.
I think I was there. I saw Elton John at Jazz Fest. I don't know how many times he's played there, but I think it was
He did a great job. I didn't know that I knew that many Elton John songs, but I couldn't move. I couldn't get anywhere.
Yeah,
it's hard to get a
move.
beer. I can't. Then the show's over and you can't leave because I've had beers and I can't find public transportation and there's gridlock everywhere and there's too many people. I can't hang at the Jazz Fest that we did. The next year was a bachelor party for my buddy, and I don't even remember who sang that one, but it's just not my scene. My wife loves it. I'm thrilled she can go down there and eat some crawfish bread and see the Killers, whatever that is. Her brother loves music, and they generally go together and have a big old time. I'll be back at LSU and Auburn baseball game. I'm just fine.
Yeah, I'm taking it. We're going to go see the Foo Fighters next week.
Nice.
But also Chris Stapleton playing as well. That would be really cool to see.
I've seen Stapleton. Very good. He is, and I fully admit this, a lot of country music singers these days don't sound awesome live because they're auto-tuned on the radio. I like the way they sound auto-tuned on the radio, and it makes me happy, so I listen to it a lot. Stapleton sounds live like he sounds on the radio.
He's really good.
Legit.
Yeah. All right, next one here. Bo Nix is a first rounder. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to take it.
I'll take it.
I think somebody jumps up and takes Bo Nix in the first round. It's just, we've seen it a billion years in a row. It's just people cannot help themselves. I'm not here to tell you I think Bo Nix is a failure in the NFL, but I don't know that I'm clamoring to go get him in the first round.
Yeah.
If I took Bo Nix, late second round, I'd feel like I got a nice lottery ticket there. I just don't know that I'm taking him that early.
Yep. All right, next one here. Jimmy, the Otter, will win some cash tonight. Take it or leave it.
Take it. Jimmy owns the draft. If you have not watched the Otter on the YouTube stream from Don Juan on draft night, you need to watch tonight. He's got over 4 cornerbacks. He's got defensive player at 18. He's got Falcons taking a corner. He's got him played all over the place. He's got the notebook out, and when it hits, Jimmy likes when it hits. He starts screaming and yelling. That's the high entertainment portion of the second half of the draft live stream. So if you've never seen that, come to Don Juan and experience it for yourself. If you can't do that, fire up the YouTube stream because the Otter will be locked in and he will be getting some bets right.
All right, last one coinciding with that. Island Haney will come back tonight. Take it or leave it.
That I'll have to leave. I can't promise it. I can't rule it out. Yeah. But, I mean, that was one of the all-time greats. For those that have been listening to the show for a long time, the station for a long time, you know Island Haney. If you're saying, what the hell is Island Haney? Well, when we had this show the first time, it was during the COVID draft. And we were all into our cups a little bit at home, just being synced up on YouTube with our Skype feeds or whatever it was. And Island Haney had a few Island pops and was on one big time. And it was fun, and we had a great time. I mean, I remember Cade saying, hey, do you want to come on the stream? I was like, well, I'm on my third drink. Is that already? He's like, the more the merrier. Come on. I'm like, all right, and I jumped on too. So I can't promise Island Haney will be there. I can't promise he won't be there, but I can tell you Jimmy's gonna hit on these bets. Island Haney, that's TBN. Just to be announced whether or not he does show up. All right, that's it for a Thursday edition of Take It or Leave It. Always a reminder, if you missed any of our show, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your podcasts, your sounds, you can find us, as well as on YouTube, where we'll be tonight on the Watch 1045 ESPN YouTube channel for our draft show. I opened things up talking about Jayden Daniels' day. This is a day where we need to celebrate him, and he's off to hopefully a fantastic career in the National Football League. I kind of gave my thoughts on his journey here at LSU. Luke Johnson was with us at 1:15, breaking down what the Saints are going to do over the next 3 days. I thought Luke gave some great insight today at 1:15. You can catch that on YouTube at Hunt on Saints. Joe Healey of D1 Baseball's SEC Extra Team talking SEC Baseball at 1:30. There's a 7-on-7 team that's being comprised of all these LSU commitments, and they're going to be really, really good, and I thought that was cool. Talked about it at 1:45. Denton Day from D.C. talking Jayden Daniels in the second hour, as well as Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, talking a little bit of baseball. Tomorrow's show, we'll have Preston Guy on talking where the LSU guys ended up. We'll talk about LSU and Auburn, certainly the Saints draft pick. Very, very excited for that. Hope to see you out at Don Juan Cigar Bar tonight. Even if not, we'll be back here same time, same place tomorrow. Matt's going to drive you home on AFR. Have a safe and enjoyable Thursday. It's been the Hunt Palmer Show.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined.